You've raised another again. You know, I have to be able to. We have to be able to draw the line.
Yeah.
What exactly is the issue? If is it the non-available? Because you mentioned something. You referred back to the earlier experiment about how the bread was hard.
Yeah.
You know, and as such, it didn't sell. People were not favorably disposed to it.
Yeah.
So if people didn't buy it then, what is the guarantee that even if the flour becomes available now, they will be able to buy it? Do we have
the flour
an
is improved to the extent that it's going to be softer than as it was before?
You actually believe that the flour can be improved upon?
Yeah, it's technology. We can do it, but nobody is talking about that. That's my own grounds. It's not a question of, okay, we are reducing the cost of foreign exchange and whatever, we're making more money for the country.
But have the bakers themselves, I mean, do you have a body whereby
Master Bakers, they've been called.
like this?
They called about that. They've been talking to by the government about it.
Have they seen this new?
It is not
flour?
a new thing.
It's the same old one.
It's a flour. Cassava flour is cassava flour.
I know. What I'm saying is that, okay, back then it was 10% inclusion of cassava flour.
Yeah.
Now this is 40%. Don't you think that some work would have been done between them?
We need to say it. Because I tested it before. That's what I'm saying. I tested it before. I had a problem with it. The problem I had was because people didn't buy it because it was hard.
Okay.
That's
now let's look at the area of acceptance.
Yeah.
If Nigerians love bread and the other products of they use cassava for and all that, how do you think Nigerians will receive this?
The name is not cassava that is making Nigerians to like or not to like. It's not because it's sweet that makes them to like or not to like, but the outcome of what you use that thing to do. If the quality is not there, it's not there, nobody's going to buy it from you. Now, if you remember, I've been making reference to this and that. Okay, we tried it the first time. I was part of it. I tried it. It didn't work because the standard, the quality of what came out from that cassava flour didn't match with that of the wheat. So people were like complaining, this thing is too hard, we are not going to buy it. It was a problem. Now, if we are reintroducing it, I assume there must be an improvement, right? Why don't we emphasize on this issue of improvement so that people will know, okay, they are saying that, okay, they are coming back and it's better and going to be the best.
I think it's very important that, yes, that's because if we're moving from 10%, if we were adding 10% of 10% of the flour was cassava, now we're increasing it to 40%. I think improvement is very important.
Improvement
otherwise,
in what sense?
We could be killing.
Or are we assuming? We need to see this.
But like, how can bakers help the federal government? I mean,
if you involve them into it, and that's a good question.
Yeah.
That's a good question. How can bakers help? You see, I'm not trying to, say they are not marketing themselves well or doing what's right in that aspect. But I feel, being the fact that we have experimented on this thing before and it didn't work, it's a subtle way. Reintroduce it. How do you do it? Walk through the bakers. Let them start injecting it into the market gradually and get the responses from the consumers. Then they'll give you feedback. Because you've made so much noise and people have a flashback of what happened before, it's going to be a difficult thing to convince them. Cassava bread, please. No, the other time I took it, look at what happened.
As it is now, it seems that, the mistake has already been made. If we didn't go through that route, obviously we already have a problem. So the question now is, how do we begin to recorrect it? Because, well, I would say I was a consumer too, or I am a consumer of bread as well, and you can almost begin to tell the difference. Someone says when you slice it, the bread breaks. Exactly, there are too many crumbs. So you can imagine if that was 10% then, how much more now that it's 40%?
The crumbs, breaking, it has nothing to do with the flour.
It has nothing to do with it.
It's the ingredients that you put into the bread.
Okay.
Do you understand me? Because bread is not only flour. If you don't have enough water, problem will be there. If you don't put enough butter and all those things, so do you
think that some form of consumer education is also very necessary here?
You don't need that. Give them the quality product, and when they test it, they will educate themselves about it. You see, like what I'm trying to say is that bread market is not what you control. It's what the consumer controls, and this is something that we say every day. And there are various alternatives to it.
Well, isn't it correct, isn't it correct to say that the bakers were trying to shortchange the consumers? That's why they just couldn't get it right the first time, because if you put the amount of butter you put into your bread while baking it counts. Because if you don't have enough butter, then you have a harder bread than a softer bread.
Why did you pick up that? Why don't you think that I have a standard in my factory of which this standard, if I'm putting...
But there's always a measurement.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, the standard. That's what I'm using the word standard. I'm not saying measure. I have, under number seven, anything that comes out, this, a bag of flour, I must put in, say, 2 kg, 3 kg of this, that. And when that thing is implemented, going through the quality control, and it comes out and gives me not the standard that's supposed to come out from the use of the other product, what do you think is the problem? Is it I'm shortchanging? No, this is my established rule and I've implemented it. It didn't give me the result.
But you have to
why don't you
rework
change
your recipe.
Is it made to change?
No, what we're saying is, because if you look at let's look at the figures, for instance. If the bakers adopt 50% of cassava flour including their bread, Nigeria will be saving around 315 billion naira in import. That's about $2.1 billion. Now, if we desire that, can't we rejig? Let me use the word rejig our recipe in such a way that, okay, if it's not working this way, let me just try out something else.
At my own expense or the federal government's expense.
Won't it be cheaper for you if you were buying wheat?
Did they say that it's going to be cheaper than the flour
at 6,000 a bag? No, hold on. You were buying wheat flour at 6,000 a bag.
Yeah.
Cassava flour is going to be a lot cheaper.
But did
should
they say
be a
that?
lot cheaper.
Should be a lot cheaper.
Okay. I'm a businessman, really.
So if the cassava flour, let's just say cassava flour is like 3,000 naira a bag. That gives you more money to put into the other recipes.
If it is 3,000
can you
naira,
rejig your
if it is 3,000 naira, I'll be the first person to buy it. Yeah. Let's assume that I'm using other recipes and the cost of those recipes didn't increase. Do you know I have more money if I should buy it at 3,000 naira? But remember, nobody is saying that. Nobody is saying that this price is going to be
maybe because it simply follows common sense that if we're importing something, it's going to be way more expensive than if we make it locally, especially when it comes to food.
You're in Nigeria, my sister. What have we produced in this country that's cheaper than the one that we have imported? Give me an instance. They will come up with this issue of no light, this, that, and it will be so expensive that even if you import it, it's going to be cheaper. No, I don't have a grounds of them banning the importation or improving this flour to give me the standard quality of what I want. I will appreciate it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm condemning it. What I want is give me what it takes for me to sell my product.
Well, if we're to get you right now, are you saying that some homemade products are more expensive than imported products?
I'm not saying all, but you are in Nigeria, you know what is happening. When there's no light, when there is no incentive generally, how do you produce? Many people have even folded up and going out to go into bringing things that they're supposed to have produced in this country. Why? It's more expensive to produce that. So if I produce something at a certain price, do you expect me to sell it cheap because I'm a Nigerian? It doesn't make sense.
Well, you said the master bakers are already in talks with the minister.
Yeah.
Is it the Minister for Agriculture?
Yeah.
And, you haven't gotten any feedback from your group?
No, not a question of getting a feedback. Everybody's just waiting. If it is available, we'll use it, we'll test it, and we'll give you a feedback.
No,
the feedback you're going to get is based on what the people are saying. We don't even need, it's not a question of, calling an association of master bakers to go there and talk about it. People will tell you that they should stop this thing because they won't buy. That is if it is not improved. Remember, that's what I'm saying. But if it's improved, man, everybody will be happy about it. I'll be very happy.
Now you're here, let's talk about the popular agege bread.
Okay.
Now, sometimes we'll talk about agege bread and they talk about bromate. Away from the bromate with which some people put in that particular bread, which is a banned substance, is it made from cassava flour?
No.
So the agege bread was also softer than the cassava flour bread you people experimented on?
If it's not made from cassava, if it's made from wheat, it's not the same. Then and even now, you see, they are not saying that it's available. They are not saying that if you go through do the study about this thing. What they are saying that they are going to encourage the states to open up cassava flour mills. What is here is for the wheat, and this thing will require a reorganization of those factories producing the wheat. Because if I have fashioned my machine to produce wheat, for flour and everything, it's not going to be the same process I'm going to use because they are not the same. This one is in a tuber form, this one is in cereal.